In outdoor photography, it's often thought that the best light is at the beginning and end of the day when the sun is lower in the sky and has a softer, warmer quality to it, and this is called golden hour. But if you're in an area with a lot of mountains, how can you be sure that the nice warm light of the low sun on your subject won't be blocked by nearby mountains? Today, I'm going to show you a quick trick in PhotoPills to help you figure this out, so stay tuned. Hey there, photographers, Brenda Petrella here, and welcome to another episode of PhotoPills Friday, where we unlock the power of the PhotoPills app to help you learn it without all the confusion. So if you want to determine whether a change in terrain, like a mountain, would block the low light of golden hour on your subject, you first need to figure out the direction of light for the composition you have in mind, and then assess the terrain along that path of light to see if it would block the light at a given time and on a given date. And I first introduced this idea back in episode 9, where I showed you how to turn on the light direction layer for the sun or moon using an example of photographing El Capitan at Yosemite National Park from the very popular photo location called Tunnel View. And I'm going to use the same plan in today's video. I put a link in the description below for the plan if you want to download it. So to assess the terrain, we will be using the red and black pins, but not in the way that you would typically use them. And I reviewed how to use these pins for planning images in episode 16, so it would be helpful to watch that first if you aren't yet comfortable with how to use them effectively. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is load a saved plan into the planner. So I'm just going to click on Load at the bottom and then Plan, and find my plan, Tunnel View, and click on it. And now the plan is loaded into the planner, and my red pin is located at Tunnel View. If I zoom in on the map, you can see it there. And if I zoom back out a little bit, you can see that the black pin is now on the very famous face of El Capitan. If you don't see a black pin on your map and you're following along, just tap the icon on the pin-to-pin geodetic info panel in the top bar off and on, and the black pin will reappear somewhere on your screen. Now I have my sun map layer turned on so that I can see the rise and set azimuth lines for the sun, but if you don't, just simply go into the map settings and make sure that the eyeball next to the sun map layer is turned on, and you can keep the other map layers turned off for now to keep it simple. Okay, next I'm going to find the golden hour for this date, which is July 4th. And to do that, I'm going to scroll to the 6th panel of the top bar, which lists the blue hour and golden hour start and end times for this day. And the evening golden hour time is 7:45 p.m. to 8:42 p.m. Now, if you downloaded the plan, the timeline will already be set for golden hour. But if not, a simple trick is to just tap on the right or left side of the timeline, and that will advance the timeline forward or backward in time to golden hour, sunset, blue hour, twilight, and so forth with each tap. Okay, having our timeline set at the start of golden hour will show us the sun's azimuth relative to the red pin at this time. Now, typically, the red and black pins are used to assess whether the sun, moon, or Milky Way will align with your subject and be visible above the black pin's location as seen from the perspective of the red pin. And I go into all the details of how to do that in episode 16 if you find that a little confusing. In this case, however, we want to see how the light will behave from our subject's perspective, which is El Capitan. So technically, the red pin needs to be on El Capitan for this situation, which is a little counterintuitive, but stick with me. Since the black pin is where I would ideally like the red pin, there is a quick way to swap the two pins by simply going into the map icons bar, clicking on the 6th icon, which will swap the two pins. And I'm going to zoom in here now, and since I would like ideally at least half the side of El Capitan to be in the light, I'm not going to put the red pin at the top of the mountain, say for instance over here. I'm going to put it midway down the side of the mountain, since this is the area that will go into the shadows first as the sun is setting. Next, I need to assess the terrain along the sun's azimuth to see whether the sun on El Capitan will be blocked, and I can use the black pin to do this. If you have access to a topo map of the area or even Google Earth, you can also use those to help you figure out where the height of land is in this vicinity, or you can just move the black pin around along the azimuth line to estimate where the highest point is. So let's just do that now. So I'm just going to start plopping my black pin along the azimuth line and looking at the altitude of the black pin, which is given in the white box. And I'm going to try to find the highest point along this line, or close to it. So it seems as though the high point might be right around here. So now I'm going to scroll the top bar back to the pin-to-pen geodetic info panel. And at the bottom of the panel, I can see that the height of the sun over the black pin from the perspective of the red pin at the start of golden hour is 528 feet. So this shot will be possible at this time. However, let's now scroll through the timeline ahead through the rest of golden hour to see if that changes at all. Notice that as I scroll through the timeline, the sun's azimuth line turns into a dashed line, and that means that at this time, the sunlight on El Capitan, where my red pin is located, will be blocked by the mountain where my black pin is located. And you can confirm this by, again, looking at the bottom of the top panel, and you can see that the sun height is now showing as -8 feet from the black pin, meaning that it's below the height of the black pin. So this lets us know that to get the sunlight from golden hour on El Capitan on this day, we would need to be ready to shoot between the start of golden hour at 7:45 p.m. and before this line turns dashed, which looks like around 8:04 p.m. So that's our window of opportunity for this image. So now that you know a little more about how mountains can affect light in your compositions, you may be wondering how sunrise and sunset times are affected by changes in elevation as well. And we will tackle that question in next week's episode. So hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.